Hello, friends. Welcome to Wellness by All Means Forum. Today we have a wonderful person. She is Professor Dr. Subhabrata Parida from SCB Medical College, Odisha. She has been ophthalmology professor for many years, and she is a wonderful personality. And I know her for many years, 4-5 decades at least, 4 decades at least. We were classmates together. So it's a great opportunity for me to invite her for a lively discussion and find out how she's been doing and what advices she has for us. Thank you very much. So let's welcome Dr. Subhabrata Parida. How are you, Subhabrata madam?
Fine, Manoj.
Good.
And thanks a lot to introduce in a sweet way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I've been hearing so much, and then we have a small forum, we have got this WhatsApp group, and then I always see that you go all around the place and then give talks, and then you have got a lot of activities. So tell us more about how has been the journey so far. I remember long time ago, when we were students, but after that you achieved so many things. You did MBBS, you did MS, and you did so much of specialized courses, and you've been teaching ophthalmology and then having a private clinic. Life must be quite hectic and very busy in Cuttack right now.
Exactly. In short, I can tell you, I was with you in my intermediate time.
Right.
That I got selected to medical school.
Mm-hmm.
Then after doing 5 to 6 years there, I got MS selection in ophthalmology.
Right.
I was doing internship in psychiatry for 6 months in AIMS Delhi. Mm-hmm. Then I got into ophthalmology in Odisha. Then after completing my MS, during that period before getting MS, I got married. And while doing post-graduation MS also, I had a baby. With that, I pursued my post-graduation course. And after doing post-graduation in ophthalmology for 3 years, then I went for MCH, post-MS fellowship in L.V. Prasad Eye Institute, Hyderabad. You must have heard about it. That is a very famous eye institute in India.
Right.
So there I did fellowship in vitreoretina for 2 years. Then I came back to Odisha and joined as medical college teacher in SCB Medical College, Cuttack and Odisha. And since 2000, I think after finishing all my studies, training, post-PG courses, everything, I am in teaching job since 2000 till date.
So out of all the different faculties in medical science, why did you choose ophthalmology?
Yeah, because one thing is very techno-savvy. Second thing is, as a lady, I wanted to manage both home and profession smoothly and in easy way. So as you know, ophthalmology has very less emergency. You are not running to do a delivery as you are in obstetrics and gynae, or in medicine, cardiology, nobody is dying at the 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. It has some emergency, ocular emergency, few diseases are there. But still you can plan your time when you see your family and when you see your profession, so that you can healthily balance both the things and go well and manage and be successful in all the parts. Because managing home and profession, if you are not doing healthily and smoothly, then it is difficult to enjoy your profession and enjoy your home together.
Definitely. I mean, that makes sense. But nobody inspired you, because I know your dad was the CDMO
my father was a doctor also.
He was a surgeon, right?
My father and my husband, both of them were interested for obstetrics and gynec. But I was rigid not to for obstetrics and gynec, because you become more busy and you don't have your own time, because you can buy your own time. You have done according to the patient's need all day and night.
Right.
That is why I told no, I'm not going for obstetrics and gynec.
That's very good. I think it's a very smart decision you have taken, considering the families and the future. And so you must be a very good planner. You must be pro-thinking about.
Exactly. In ophthalmologist, I can plan my time. Which time I'll give for profession and which time I'll go for home, so that none of the two will be disturbed.
And also, if you look at all these resources given to us, I always talk about the resources given to us, our mind, our intellect. There's so many resources given to us as a human resource, inner development, and vision is one of the most important one. So if you help, as you already mentioned to me, you've got 100,000 plus surgeries that you've undertaken and then successfully have done it, and thousands of cataract operation you have done. So those are all vital things, because giving a vision to people, giving eyesight to people, that's one of the most important work that you have undertaken. So,
And
okay,
is a small organ, and a lot of microscopic surgery is needed,
right,
and a lot of technoscience equipments are there to diagnose.
right. So, what is the latest technology? Like, when you talk about technology, like, we talk about LASIK surgery and all, like, are there something more than that, like, to remove the problems that happen?
Yes.
What is this one?
Yes. Less emergency and surgical subject. I always liked surgery. So that is how I opted for a surgical subject. But no much of emergency.
Right.
In that way, I
Right.
opted for ophthalmology.
So I said, like, there are so many different definitions of success in life. Like, I personally believe that you've been very successful in your personal life and also professional career. But from your side, from your perspective, how do you define success as?
Yes, I will say, as you said, that you feel I am successful, that is a different entity totally. When I say I am successful, that is a different entity totally. I
Right.
feel so, because if I can satisfy myself, I will say, yes, I am successful. You compare with yourself and you think that, yes, I am successful on today. I was being earlier, and today I am definitely one step ahead. That gives you more success or more peace and more happiness in your mind.
Right. But I think that is a very difficult target to get, isn't it? Like, people normally, we don't get satisfied with so many things. Like, we
Exactly.
always want more, we always want more. And whenever, like, you don't really feel happy about yourself most of the time. Like, there are, of course, variations of that. But that is also very
Yeah.
difficult to achieve, because you might be seeing yourself in a different way, and then other people might be seeing you very successful, as you said rightly.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good point. At some point of time, you have to evolve into a different definition, and then try to redefine what have you achieved. So when do you think that you achieved really great in your life? What is the most important thing that you see, that gave you really a good satisfaction?
Even today, I'll say I have to achieve a lot.
Right.
If I see the science progressing very fast, or
Right.
the physical part or medical part, I feel I'll have to achieve many things. Every day or every minute, you are there to learn more. But still, I can say I felt successful when I had a dream to be an ophthalmologist. I got ophthalmology PG. I felt satisfied. Then I wanted to do some vitreoretina part, because when I did vitreoretina, even on today, vitreoretina specialists are very few in number.
Mm-hmm.
Even in India, everywhere. Like, cataract is very rampant. Every ophthalmologist does a cataract surgery.
Right.
But vitreoretina is definitely less traveled, and being women in vitreoretina, again, number is very less. So in that way, when I wanted to be a vitreoretina surgeon, and I got it to a good institute in India, rather number one institute in India. So that time I felt very happy. And when I do difficult surgery, especially a person comes both eye blind, and doing vitreoretina complex surgery for hours, like 2 hours, 3 hours, it takes time to do the surgery. And you can imagine a small eye, and it has got so many parts, and behind is the retina, and doing surgery for 3 to 4 hours in a small eye and giving some vision to that blind person gives you utmost success and happiness. Right. And satisfaction, everything.
Right.
And
I think every time it is surgery. So every time it is surgery, whenever the final moment comes, when the putty opens, like when the person is able to see, I think that must be giving you profound satisfaction.
Exactly.
And then more of those kind of moments that create in your life that brings more happiness and joy. Wow, that's great.
Exactly.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, like, because right now in COVID-19 pandemic, like all of us are kind of gluing to the screen. Our screen time has gone up way higher than otherwise. Everybody just glued to the screen. So what is the impact of this lifestyle on our eyes?
Yes, definitely impact is there, because from small children to adult, even old persons, all are glued to the screen.
Right.
Maybe for school teaching or office work or just passing
Totally.
time with friends and family, everything
Right.
you do through the screen, like we are doing
Right.
now.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah. This is whole life
so
will
like
change.
exactly, and we are sitting in a closed room, mostly in a AC room, so air conditioned room. So everything together gives pain to your eye. That is first thing, it causes dry eye, evaporation
Right.
of the tear, because you stare so much of time to the screen. So
Right.
your eye gets dried up, your tear film gets dried up. So particularly we ask people, when you are seeing the screen for hours, then you remember to blink as frequently as you can. Blink, the tear film will spread and you will feel some comfort. And also the brightness, that also the coming from the screen, that also cause damage to the eyes, and especially for the children, school going children,
Right.
and also after 40. So in the two particular ages, lower and higher, those people,
Mhm.
they have to take more care about the air conditioning room and blinking frequently, then looking far away, so that to give the accommodation at rest and relax your eyes, so that you will feel comfortable. And
Right.
children especially, they develop myopia if they see the screen hours together. But
Right.
on the COVID time, there is no way out. You have to take your classes, everything with screen only. That is the problem.
Right.
So you have to go to your ophthalmologist to check your eyes and your glasses. Everything has to be proper.
Right.
And
And in
lubricant-
yoga, like, we do a lot of eye exercises, like moving the eyeballs up and down, left and right, circular motion, far and it's called Tratak,
Yeah,
and then also
yeah,
focusing on
yeah.
something. So all those things are because I believe that every muscle needs exercise, like every muscle needs blood circulation. So just like the eyes have got tiny muscles. So if you do the exercise
Yeah,
once
you
in a day, so that really helps it out. And then I also recommend my students, like, you splash cold water in the morning when you get up. All those things were home remedies, given to us by our
Yes.
forefathers. Like, so I think that also has it been validated in the medical science? Like, all these small exercises help people to maintain their eyesight?
Especially moving in all directions, that
Right.
gives more comfort to the eye. Another thing you people advise, which is also we also advise medically, like when asked to, that is the exercise for accommodation, we say, suppose you are holding a pencil or your finger far away and bringing to
Right.
close.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So bringing your comment and
Partly.
focusing on that finger or pencil tip at a near distance. By that, you are exercising your accommodation.
I see.
If you're
That's like a startup, like, trick to the right and left and front and back.
Yes.
It's like focal adjustment, I call it, like focal adjustment of the camera lens.
so yes. So
Right.
that we also advise to improve the accommodation.
Right.
If your accommodation is strong, then for reading hours you will not get fatigue.
Right.
That
Even there are some acupressure points, like, we recommend, like, walking barefoot on the green grass in the morning, like, those dews and then those
Yes.
little acicular structure of the grass that can also activate certain acupressure points for eyes.
Okay. And
Right.
one told that flushing normal water,
Right.
clean water to the eyes, that is also very good. That also we advise, not in a routine basis, but when the foreign body goes in, or some hot air or something goes, any chemical
Right.
injury, anything fallen into your eyes, hair dye, any cosmetics, anything, that
Right.
time we always advise to wash your eyes with normal clean water, splash into the eye, so that it will be washed away, rather than rubbing the eyes, or
Right.
that you will put.
I give a
Makes-
simple logic, because when my grandpa told me, like, wash your eyes, like, particularly he will say, like, you take some water, put it in your mouth and make your mouth blown out, and then you splash water, right? So the basic principle is, like, when you splash a little bit cold water, just normal water, so automatically the temperature difference happens, like the blood circulation happens, the blood from the
Exactly.
dense area automatically rush into the eyes. So that's one of the scientific reasons, maybe it helping the eyes to
Yeah.
feel better.
Mm.
That's good. So also wanted to talk about, you had a question for about diabetes and eye care,
Yes.
right? So let's talk about that, because that is so important right now, because I have been studying diabetes, and I've been, helping people with my yogic techniques and stuff like that, because one of the things that I have growingly realized that, like, there are kind of three imbalances in our life that causes mostly disease, including the diabetes and eyes, problems. First one is our sugar imbalance, because if you look at every food that you take, if you go to any supermarket in any part of the world, like most of the things are enriched with a lot of sugar, glucose, totally, right? Those sugar is, we don't need sugar in our body in a natural way, like we don't need any external sugar, 0 gram, right? But because the body knows how to make glucose out of carb and everything. And right now, because everybody is so much affinity to having love for the sweet, so that makes big imbalance in our whole.
And all types of drinks also, they contain a
All
lot
drink,
of glucose.
totally. Like somebody was giving an example, like when you make the sira, like the gulab jamun sira, so you make water, boiling water, and you put add sugar, so it makes so thick, like a sticky substance. Same thing happens to our blood also, because it becomes so thick, it doesn't really pass through the arteries, clean arteries. So that also causes hypertension and diabetes, right? So the second thing is like hormonal imbalance, because the milk production, the different kind of hormones getting injected, all the food that we eat, genetically modified. So all those things have been totally with a lot of steroids and all. So that has caused a lot of hormonal imbalance. People say like girls at a very young age right now, they're menstruating. Like at the age of 6 or 7, the average age of menstruation for the girls have gone down all over the world. Growing facial hair, all over. Boys also growing too much of muscle fat, and then milk coming out of the breast. All these things are signs of hormonal imbalance. And the most important thing, third important imbalance that our people are talking about is called microbial imbalance. Because in our guts itself, there are so much of microbes. They say like for every human cell, there could be thousands of different microbes. And then if that microbial gut balance is not there, then that causes a lot of diseases. So food takes a major role in terms of how much of carbohydrate and how much of fiber that is there. That ratio is very important. For example, in rice, they say the ratio of carbohydrate and fiber is 395, because rice has got only 0.2% fiber, right? And then, there are certain natural grains like millets, for example. They have been talking about those millets can have up to 12.5% fiber. So that means their ratio is only about 5 to 7. And those kind of grains are very healthy for diabetes and different kind of diseases. So I've been doing some research about the diet, apart from the stretching, breathing, and other things, meditation, of course. I think that definitely talks more about, particularly the diabetes. It's lifestyle disease. So food plays a major role. So when we control that, obviously, like your diabetes can be contained. Right?
Why I selected diabetes and asked you, because as a vitreoretina person, retinopathy is a challenge, always a challenge to us.
Right.
Many diabetes, they come totally being blind with lots of hemorrhage, what we call vitreous hemorrhage.
Right.
All the blood vessels in the retina, they get damaged and they bleed. There is no blood supply. In that, there are a lot of complications, and every day we see about 10 to 12 diabetic retinopathy at the end stage. That is why I chosen this for how to control the diabetes.
Right.
And from the day for a diabetic person, they have to go for retina screening. And when there is retina is affected, diabetic retinopathy, then kidney is affected simultaneously, because these are at risk. So as you told, blood becomes thick. In that way, it blocks into the smaller vessels, capillaries and all.
Right.
So capillary blockade, the retina doesn't get blood supply. Same time, kidney also. So both the organs, they get affected simultaneously with diabetes. And people go blind without proper knowledge and proper treatment, because it has very minor treatment. With minor treatment only, they can keep their vision saved. That is why I chosen this diabetes to talk to you. And awareness is very much required for the people all over worldwide. Like,
and then also like stress also another reason. Like I've seen a lot of cases who come in Silicon Valley. They have got it's called SRS, like serous retinopathy problem, because the detachment happens. Like, so they were talking about like mostly pilots and all, like who are very focused into their job. They get this little bit separation from the retina.
Yes.
So, and the stress causes most important. The stress is one of the root cause of that. So I have got many cases where they practice yoga, mindfulness, meditation, and then reduce the stress and maximize more calmness and mindfulness. So they have seen within just 1 month or 1.5 months of time, the gap is already reduced, and then becomes almost natural and normal. Yeah.
Because this CSR is particularly a disease of type A personality.
Right.
CSR, the central serous retinopathy,
Central serous
particularly a
retinopathy.
disease of type A personality.
Right.
So once you abilize your stress, this disease is self-resolving.
Right.
Mostly they don't need any treatment. They are
Right.
self-resolving if you can maintain your stress. So yoga and meditation is a very good thing for that.
Right.
And diabetes is also stress related.
It's
Because
lifestyle.
upon a time it is hereditary or familial, but now it's stress induced, only lifestyle induced and stress induced.
Right.
Yes.
And also a lot of the new research is telling about genetics is one thing, but I think people are also talking about epigenetics, like your belief system, your lifestyle, your the way that you see things in your life, like in your life. So all those things also matter the most. Like even if you have something, if you change your diet, if you change your lifestyle, if you do exercise properly, if you think positive, if you reduce your stress, most of the time, even cancer and other things, so-called hereditary disease, can be minimized in the country. And I've seen it in many cases. People adopting a new lifestyle, they have been able to contain that.
Definitely. And there are so many lifestyle related diseases, not only
Right.
diabetes, hypertension, asthma, all these many neurological diseases and some ophthalmological, like you told CSR. Many diseases are lifestyle related.
Right.
You change lifestyle, your dietary habit, and then you can keep many diseases away from you.
Right. Totally.
And yes.
That's very good. I think it's a great opportunity for me to talk to a doctor, medical doctor who's been practicing a lot of hardcore technology and then medical science to help millions of people. So we wish you all the best to maybe another 100,000, 200,000 eyesight
Thank you
come
so
out
much.
properly. And one of my last question is like, do you see, there is an increase in blindness in the world right now in last 10 years time? Or what will be the global statistics from the ophthalmologic point of view?
Like global statistic, two diseases are there which we are struggling to prevent and pick up or screen at an early stage and prevent blindness. Two things: glaucoma. You must have heard about glaucoma, increased intraocular pressure. Yes, and another thing is diabetic retinopathy. These
I
two
see.
things are most important blinding diseases, because cataract, any point of time we can do surgery and phacoemulsification, what we are doing under topical anesthesia, no injection, no knife, everything. Patient is coming in and going out of the OT table to their office. So
Right.
that is well controlled and well managed on today. But two things all over worldwide we are struggling is diabetic retinopathy, another is glaucoma, open angle glaucoma, which are silent diseases. Even open angle glaucoma, till the end stage, patient will not know anything about. So they are comfortable with their central vision. When their peripheral vision is getting restricted and getting damaged without their knowledge, because there is no pain, no redness, nothing, patient will not know. So on those two diseases, we are working a lot so that we can screen out in early stage and we can pick up the disease in early stage and treat and then prevent blindness.